Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to another episode of Pan the Organizer. So today I'm presenting a paint thickness gauge. So what is it? Who is it for? How do you use it? Let's first start by presenting it. So this one here is a model called the Professional NexPTG, and it's from a company called NexDiag. They're a Polish company, so it's made in Poland, and it's a wireless device, and it measures the thickness of your paint. So from the substrate itself, meaning the steel or zinc-plated galvanized steel or aluminum surface, to the primer, to the base coat, and the clear coat, so that shiny part or glossy part on your vehicle, basically the entire thickness of the paint to allow you to kind of gauge what you're working with, right? So don't worry guys, I'm going to include the links to all of these products and tools and equipment in the description under the video for you guys to check them out. So all you have to do is sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. And a quick disclaimer, this is not a sponsored video. NexDiag did not send me this product. They did not pay for this video. I ordered this myself. So why I'm talking about this is recently I did a paint correction or paint polishing tutorial. So if you haven't checked that out, by the way, I'll drop a link to that video in the description under this video. It was part of a Detailing 101 series where I basically go through all the steps of fully detailing the exterior of a vehicle. So washing the vehicle, iron decontamination, a clay bar for mechanical decontamination, paint polishing, and then applying a protection like a wax, a sealant, or a ceramic coating. So when we're doing paint polishing, typically you'll have a machine polisher, and so you're removing a bit of that clear coat or that glossy part that's on top of your paint. Once again, so the traditional paints today on today's vehicles start with the metal portion, so the substrate. On top they'll have some sort of a primer, and then you have the base coat, which is the color coat, and on top you'll have that thicker clear coat, which is made to protect against the elements, against the UV rays, against fading and oxidizing, and basically give that super nice gloss and shine that we all love on paint. Eventually though, depending on if you're using proper washing and drying techniques, things can happen. You're going through automated car washes with those bristle brushes, you're using snow removal brushes in the winter, or you're not using the correct washing and drying techniques. Basically, you can induce swirls, scratching, marring. There can be stuff like oxidation that builds up over time as well. Or you might have a damaged vehicle that was repainted and needs some sort of correction. They maybe quickly used a rotary polish and induced some holograms or some haze on the paint, depending on which compounds they use, so on and so forth. So we're doing paint correction to basically level the paint, get it free of any swirls, scratches, increase gloss and clarity, and also make it truer or flatter. That way the light bounces off or reflects a lot better, and you're getting that awesome shine without any of the defects. So what we're doing basically when we're paint correcting or paint polishing is removing a bit of that clear coat to make it truer and flatter. So typically on modern vehicles, you'll have paints that are roughly 3.5 mils all the way up to 5 mils is what I've been seeing recently. So in the past years, especially on newer cars, they're reducing the thickness of the paints, guys. That doesn't mean that the paint is necessarily cheaper than it was a decade or more before. It's just that they're using different technology paints now, and the majority of the clear coats are water-based and so on and so forth. I'm not going to dive into the technology of clear coats. However, they're still very resistant, very durable, very glossy, but they're getting thinner and thinner. So this is where a paint thickness gauge comes in, especially if you're working on a used vehicle. So whether you're a weekend warrior or you're a professional detailer, you can use one of these to measure the thickness of the paint and kind of give you an idea of what you're working with, right? So for example, if you're working on a vehicle and you measure the thickness on the hood, the doors, and the trunk and that kind of stuff, and you get average readings between 4 to 5 mils, you know you're in a safe zone. If, however, all of a sudden a quick indicator that there has been some sort of an impact or the vehicle was damaged and repaired and repainted in a body shop, well, usually on that fender or repainted body panel, you'll typically have a thickness that's a lot thicker. So let's say the rest of your panels, you're getting 4 mils on average, and all of a sudden you're on a panel that has 9 mils. Generally, that's a sign that there's been some repair, some Bondo added, and a thicker paint, because when they're spraying manually, they can control the thickness of the paint as good as the machines or robots in the manufacturer's plants and where they're painting those at the factory. The clear coat thickness on average is typically 1.5 to 2 mils. It is very inexpensive compared to other paint thickness gauges on the market. I've seen some in the $1,000 to $2,000 range. range. So of course, those are going to be even more precise, have more features. But what comes with this? Basically everything you need. This is 200 USD at the time of this filming, or roughly $260 Canadian. Again, links in the description. But you have basically everything you need with this. First of all, it's wireless. It connects through Bluetooth 4.0 LE, or low energy, to your phone. And regardless if you have an iOS or Android device, you have the app for that. So there is an app on your phone that you connect to. So that's the NexDiag app right here. So I'm trying to do it reverse. There you go. So it brings this up, and basically there's this area here where it's going to give you your measurements in mils or microns, depending on what you prefer for the readings. I prefer mils. I think a lot of people in US and Canada, that's what they use. You're going to have all your measurements here. And the cool thing is that you can make reports with this. So it can give you your average measurements per body panel, or the overall paint thickness for the entire vehicle. And yeah, you can generate some awesome reports that you can save and download to your computer. So what do you get? First of all, it comes in this awesome kit. So in this like plastic case, and when you open it, it's very, very well made. So inside, well, you would get obviously your paint depth gauge. So this is the Professional series, by the way. So this is their higher end unit that it has even more precise. It goes down to a precision of 1 micron, or 0.04 mils. That is crazy. So you get the user's manual also with a few papers. You get some extra alkaline batteries for replacement. I thought that was a nice touch. And you also get these calibration little units here that you'll do the first time you use your NexPTG. And it has a movable head. So let me give you a close-up of this here. So this head, you can take measurements on convex and concave areas as well. So whether you have curves or flatter areas, absolutely no problem. And even for taking measurements on my Porsche 911 Turbo S with those super wide curvy hips, absolutely no issues with that. And so once again, this is for your steel or aluminum. So this measures on top of steel surfaces, galvanized steel, which is also called zinc plated steel, and aluminum. So on all those surfaces, it's not going to measure your paint thickness on top of plastics, because it's not going to be able to get that reading. So very simple to operate. Basically, there's this power button in the front. You press that, it's going to turn on. So you're going to see that red light. And then once you open the app on your phone and you start it up, it's going to connect to your device. And then you're going to see the second blue light appear, and that's going to show that the connection is wirelessly done on your unit. So let me turn it off for now. So once you're connected, it's as easy as taking your device, you put it on the panel that you want to take the thickness for, you gently press, and then you're going to see the reading on your phone. You can take up to 10 readings, I think, per panel. I usually do an average of 4 or 5 per panel, and then that's it. It gives you the average thickness, the overall thickness. You can generate reports and all that kind of stuff, and basically it allows you to know what you're working with. So typically, before you start machine polishing, you would measure the thickness of the paint, right? So you clean the vehicle, you detailed it, you decontaminated it, so it's clean and dry. And now before you go ahead and do machine polishing, you're going to take some readings. So go around the vehicle and see what kind of thickness you're measuring. Typically, again, the thickness of the clear coat is 1.5 to 2 mils on modern cars. And if you want to know what you're working with, a cool quick pro tip, you open the door, and on the door sill or door jamb on the inside part there, that's usually where it's the thinnest, right, on a vehicle. So you'll measure that, and you'll probably typically see somewhere in the area of 2 mils, 1.8, 2, 2.2. So you'll know like that's the minimum thickness of the overall paint. But typically, again, on new vehicles, what we're seeing is 3.5 all the way up to 5 mils. There's some that come with 6 mils, but that's what you'll see. So if, for example, this thing also measures a second paint layer. So if you've had a body panel that's been repainted, one good way to know with this, again, well, it's going to tell you on the screen on your phone when you're doing the reading that there's a second layer of paint detected, and you're going to see like it's going to be a different measurement, right? So let's say you're getting an average of 4 mils on the panels that you're measuring, and all of a sudden you fall, for example, on a fender or a door and you see 9 mils. Well, that's a huge discrepancy. It's more than doubled, right? So that huge discrepancy usually means that the panel has been repainted. So you can have that in mind when you're going around. And it also allows you to know how many times a vehicle has been polished, right? So you don't know when you're working on a used vehicle from a customer, what it's been through, how much paint is left, how many times it has been polished in the past, and if the clear coat was reduced to a danger zone. So if you're getting close to under 3.5 mils or 3 mils or perhaps less, then either you're going to take a chance to refuse that job, or you're going to be very, very cautious when you're working. Now again, a lot of people worry, am I going to burn through the clear coat, right? When you're doing a section pass, so up and down and left to right, and you're removing that polish or compound, especially with more abrasive compounds, if you were to measure that, typically you're losing about 3 microns for a pass, which is about 0.1 mils. So that's not a lot, guys. If you consider that your typical clear coat is 1.5 to 2 mils, removing 0.1 or 0.2 mils when you're polishing that section is not the end of the world. Even for a heavy 2 or 3 step, you're probably going to remove maybe 0.4 to 0.5 overall. So there's a few times that you can polish the paint before you get into a red zone or a danger zone. So if the paint is brand new, you can go ahead and polish the surface as you want. And if the vehicle is a used vehicle, so a few years on the road, well, start with this. It's going to allow you to basically be like a doctor and figure out what you're working with and what's the average thickness of the paint that you are. And when you're done correcting the paint, you're going to take measurements again. And that's when you can show the customer, if, for example, on the panel before you started, it was at 4.1 mils, you're done polishing, you take another reading, and now you're down to 4 mils or 3.9 mils. Well, that allows the customer to also know that you didn't remove that much, because when you're doing a traditional paint polishing, whether it's a compound, a 2-step, a compound, and a polish, or just a polish, you're removing very, very little material. So that's going to reassure them you're not burning through 3 mils of paint when you're doing paint correction, so rest assured. And by the way, the thickness of the paint doesn't necessarily correlate or translate to the quality of the paint. Case in point, I have 2 2021 vehicles in my garage. So I have my own Porsche 911 Turbo S, my supercar, as I call it. So definitely a super high-end sports car. And the paint is some of the best I've ever seen on a vehicle. Porsches are known for their awesome paint. They had a retooling of their entire paint manufacturing plant in Germany. And I mean, it's very low on orange peel. Orange peel, by the way, is still needed on daily drivers. You still want that for many reasons, including not seeing the swirls and scratches as much. So it's important. And so it has a lot of clarity, a lot of gloss, but the mils on average was anywhere from 4 to 5, and the 2021 Nissan Rogue of my girlfriend, so the SV model with an extra extra package, well, it has almost the same thickness, so that doesn't mean that they're equal in quality. So the Porsche paint is obviously still more high-end. It has more gloss. It's a lot better to work with, and I don't know, the overall finish is clearly better. And the Nissan, that doesn't mean it's bad paint. It's still very good. But I mean, you see here, we have almost equal readings. Even on some panels, the paint on the Nissan was a bit thicker overall, and that doesn't necessarily translate to better quality. So again, what this does, it's going to allow you basically to gauge which overall thickness that you have to work with, so you can kind of guess, can have a good idea, exactly of what you're doing, how much material you're removing, how much paint thickness you have to work with when you're starting. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I think I went over all the things that you have with the NexDiag NexPTG. Again, guys, links to this in the description under this video. If you like this kind of thing and you want to learn more, smash the thumbs up button to show me your support. Also, take a second and click the subscribe button that's found under this video, and that way you'll subscribe to my channel and never miss my future videos. So guys, thanks for being there, thanks for watching, and in the meantime, don't forget, keep it tight, keep it clean, and I'll see you on the next one.